Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Welcome, everyone, to City Alpha 3. I'm Philip Gilfus, your host. We're here to enjoy talking about all things Star Trek, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Daniel Prue. Daniel, I know you thought we were going to be podcasting in a couple days, but this podcast has to launch now.
Yeah, that's kind of inconvenient. I know you think just because you're at the top and you're in charge this week, you can just kind of tell all of the people underneath you. But there's a procedure, Philip, and there's this happens for a reason. We can't just leave now. So too bad. Sorry on you, man. Boo-hoo.
Well, it's launching whether you like it or not. And also joining us is our other co-host, Darren Moser. Darren, I know you said you were out of the podcasting business, but there's this topic that we need to talk about, and I need you. I need you.
Well, you may not know this, but Tristan activated a seldom used, often unknown podcaster's clause, and basically they drafted me. Yeah.
Oh, it's a sad tale. It's a sad tale. Well, I'll talk.
Do I have to change out of this deep V cut and medallion though? I think I'm working it.
Just shave.
You got it shaved.
Yeah, that's all we ask. We have standards around here.
Well, well, of course. I mean, I wouldn't want you to think I was mirror Darren. I have to shave it.
Sure. Well, so we are going to be continuing our long-running series here on City Alpha 3. Is it really that bad? Talking about the Star Trek, the motion picture. Before we start, we're not going to go deep into it, but of course, since we last recorded, we got the news in the Star Trek franchise that, sadly, Aaron Eisenberg passed away of Star Trek Deep Space Nine fame. So it's certainly been deep felt in the Star Trek fan community. I've all deaths are equal, but it's interesting that usually the older folks who pass away, you see names one or two times, but I feel like this one has sort of been stayed in the news. Everyone's sort of feeling this much more than perhaps some of the older folks. So anything you've seen in the past week or 2 weeks, or however long it's been, Darren or Daniel, that sort of popped out at you?
I did see that someone, I think Will Wheaton, mentioned that he is actually starting a watch through of Deep Space Nine for the first time. I think he just never caught it, or what, for whatever reason. It. That's things people don't realize. Often when you're producing a show, you rarely even watch that show because you're just so busy making it. And even though he wasn't on Deep Space Nine, I don't think that was on his. It was harder to binge watch and to catch things back in the 90s. Kids, ask your parents. But, but I'm really excited about that because, we all enjoy Deep Space Nine. Whether it's your favorite or not, it's still really good television. So I'm looking forward to Will experiencing that for the first time.
Sure. And Daniel, anything you saw in the coverage or anything else? I guess you did do something. You mentioned on the chat, offline of recording, you did a little something, whether purposely or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I watched It's Only a Paper Moon. Because I told my girlfriend earlier in the day, what had happened. And it was sad and stuff. And like you had mentioned, it's a little different. Like when we it's what is it? Every few months, somebody in the Trek community passes. Just because the community is so large, but generally it's usually just like TOS era sort of people at this point, just because they're getting to that sort of age. It's a little different when it hits like sort of the 90s Trek era stuff. And the most recent example, which even goes beyond that, obviously much younger, is when Anton passed.
Right.
And this feels a lot like that, where regardless of how you feel about the character or that property, like the person himself is very well high respected. Everybody seems to just has a really high opinion of him. Everybody loves this guy, and obviously it's a big loss. So anyways, I mentioned it to my girlfriend, and I said, let's watch what's considered to be the best Nog episode. And it was pretty emotional. It's sad. It's sad that we lost Aaron, and I think Nog is a great, fantastic character, and I'm sure we'll get into that later on. But
Sure.
It was a little bit of an emotional watch.
It's a subplot, but I think one of the most memorable ones is the Great Stream of Commerce, whatever, the one where he's
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The Great River.
trading for
Yeah.
the thing, trading for the
Yeah.
thing, trading for the thing. It's very fun.
And then the desk and the
Yep.
stem bolts and it's the Starfleet version of starting with a paperclip and ending up with a starship.
Yes.
Well, and then also, we just saw him in the DS9 documentary, what we left behind, and it's just DS9's really in the forefront right now, which is kind of nice to see a lot of people interested. And I've also heard a lot of people say, or Aaron had remarked that a lot of veterans would often find him and talk to him at conventions and say episodes like It's Only a Paper Moon or his arc in season 7 helped them because they were dealing with the same stuff. And I'm like, that's Trek at its best.
Yeah.
Right there. So
Yeah, I don't know if it was Ira specifically, but the team behind What You Leave Behind, the documentary, released a 2-minute clip in memorandum of Aaron, of him talking. It was obviously cut material from the documentary, but it was like a 2-minute clip, and it was real nice. It was real sweet, him talking about how much Deep Space Nine still meant to him and how he carried it with him, and it was such a tremendously wonderful experience. So it was, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's a really sweet clip.
Oh, so yeah, folks. If you have any favorite Aaron moments or Nog moments, feel free to tweet at us and share your thoughts and memories. So I'm making the awkward transition to our topic again. So as I said, we'll be talking about Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And before we get into details, let's just start as we always start. Daniel, you've established the parameters here, so I will try to follow your tradition here. Let's talk about.
thanks, Daniel. Thanks for those parameters.
Before we. Obviously, or hopefully, all did a rewatch recently. So let's, what did you think before you watched through? What was your legacy opinion of Star Trek: The Motion Picture? Also, Daniel, what was sort of, your already established, perfect opinion of TMP?
Z, snore, 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 snore. It's the thing is like, and we'll get into all of it later, but what I traditionally thought of it was that it's very drawn out, very boring, and kind of tough to get through. And really, the one thing that pops into my head is how ugly it is. Like, massively ugly. Not the special effects, because those are, I think they're kind of charming in a late 70s sort of way, but like the interior ship design, especially the uniforms, just drab and boring and ugly and blah. Like, I hate it. I hate that sort of
2001 kind of.
Yes, yeah. It works in 2001 because it's a very different universe. It's a very different sort of situation. But obviously, and I'm sure it will come up because this movie is trying so very, very hard to be 2001, which, by the way, for all intents and purposes, is the same sort of thing. Long, drawn out, very boring, great special effects, kind of ugly, drab interior. But anyways, yes, this movie is very much trying to be 2001, and with the Star Trek label slapped on it. But traditionally, I've thought of it as a very, probably a tough watch, I would call it.
Okay, and for Mr. 2001 himself, Dr. Sci-Fi, what was your sort of established opinion on the first ever Star Trek movie?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to Daniel. I think the last time I had watched it, it wasn't even watching it. I think I saw like a fan supercut where someone basically condensed it into like an hour of like the best hour of that 3, like just really streamlined it, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. And I mean, you miss some stuff and some pacing, like obviously you have to take something out, but and then in my rewatch, I watched it in 2 chunks. I watched it all the way up through, what was it?
Spock?
Up through Spock arriving, and then I watched the rest in a later viewing. Just
so you had an
timing.
intermission, you would say?
Yes, like the good old days.
Did you fall asleep? Did you fall asleep? Because I did. That's what happened to me.
Well, I won't get to my reaction just yet, but
Spoilers.
But again, in my memories of it, again, it's weird because I was looking at the running time, because you think like, oh my gosh, it's got to be long. Like many of the other later Trek movies are just as long. It's a lot of its pacing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what do they do at that time? And I always try to put myself in this mindset, though, when I watch the motion picture of this was all we had seen of the Enterprise was a ship this big, like 6 inches on your little TV, and that was it. Like, so I try to put myself in that mindset of, okay, like, yeah, they spent a lot of time flying around the Enterprise, getting on the Enterprise, but oh my goodness, like seeing that on a giant cinematic screen, like you're just weeping for those nacelles. Like, it's just so beautiful.
Not those nacelles, Darren. Not those nacelles.
Hashtag not my nacelles.
But yeah, so I mean, I guess all that to say is I try to put myself kind of in a perspective mood, and whether that's, you know, I don't feel like that's a negative because I feel like I have to do that. I feel like that just kind of helps ease the corners on some of the things that I wouldn't normally give a pass on, you know, like length and pacing and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't watch it very often. If I do, I usually watch like going to the Enterprise and then maybe like
you YouTube clip it.
Yeah, just YouTube clip it. You know, I like the sequence with the wormhole and some other effects, and then like jump to like the end V'ger stuff. You know, like when they're actually next to the probe. Best bits.
Yes, scrubbing away that
like
dirt.
Mr. Data, summarize, please. You know.
Yeah, and so for me, because this sort of follows my Star Trek journey, I think this is probably the first Star Trek I've ever saw, because I'm trying to remember whether
like before television.
I think so, because I remember whether I even saw it before Next Gen, maybe, and I can't remember because, you know, this is not that it was. I mean, it's long ago, but, you know, this probably would have been like 12 or something, or maybe even 10, honestly. But anyway, because my family, as many did during this bygone era, had all these VCR tapes, like taped off the TV VCR tapes, and so one of them was Star Trek 1 through 3, where I guess, you know, TV movie or whatever, you know, was on the television, so they was taped off, you know, the TV, and so it had that sort of taped off the TV quality of a 1980s VHS, so not the greatest quality, right? You know, looking back, but that was probably the first thing I ever saw, and so that's how I saw this movie for the first time. So, you know, not only as, you know, talking about Darren the small picture quality, but then the VHS kind of
right
quality as well.
Just ratchet that quality down a couple more notches.
Exactly. Because I mean, I'm sure the actual VHS of the movie was probably fine. This is taped off the TV VHS quality. So yeah, it was, you know, the worst. Well, I don't know, because, you know, we already did Star Trek 5, but, you know, and we may have changed our opinions then, but, you know, I always thought like, oh, is 5 or 1 the worst, and maybe 5's the worst. But anyway, but yeah, and it's certainly not one I went back to. But of course, it's also shaped how I saw TOS, because that was the first I saw of TOS, really. I mean, maybe in the back of my mind I had seen some clips or something, but like, it was weird to then watch the original series TV show. I'm like, Scotty, where's his mustache? And gut.
That's true.
And, you know, and so it was like, it's so different. It was like, it was weird. I sort of went 1 through 3 and then went to the TV series. So, but yeah, it was a lot of, you know, the boring stuff and V'ger, and yeah, I got it. Once you know it, you don't really need to see it again, do you? I mean, it's V'ger, it's Voyager. I got it. Boom, done. So that was sort of the background. So recently, it was re-released in the theaters for its
40th anniversary.
No, it wasn't a round number. It was 39, I think, wasn't it? 39th
was
anniversary.
it? No.
Yes.
No, because you're talking not about this year.
Like this last week.
Right, because it was released in 79 and it's 2019. That would be a round
40th?
number.
Okay, you're right. So it's 40th anniversary. So yeah, so I saw it in the theaters. So that was interesting. Long story short, it was my day off, so I had time. I didn't care. But like the advertised time.
Did you have a lot of time, Philip?
Well, like the time it started, like it's like, I forget. Let's say it was like supposed to start at 5. So 5 o'clock comes, and then it's like, Fathom events. Your picture will start in 30 minutes. And everyone's like, what? Of course, there's like 5 people in the theater. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just look at my phone. I'm fine. I got nowhere else to be. People.
But do they have like trivia and stuff for 30 minutes?
It was ads for like, you know, like Fathom ads for like 25 minutes. And then
So
like
a movie that long, and they're not even going to start it on time.
and then when it hit the time, then they started the trivia for 10 minutes, and so like people were like groaning at it. Yeah, but I didn't care.
You're
Like, I didn't
making me vindicated for my decision not to go watch it in theaters.
or you could have showed up late and you would have been fine. But anyway, but then I saw it in the theater, and so it was certainly a different experience. So, so I'm not an expert on theatrical release versus director's cut because there is a difference with the motion picture. If I had to guess, I would assume I saw the theatrical release with Fathom Events. Just
I think
because
the director's cut is longer.
Just because
by a marginable amount.
I just remember seeing someone posted a clip recently, a couple days ago on Twitter, of like one of the I don't even know how to describe it. There's a alien that kind of has like a big head that never talks in the movie release I saw, but in this there was a clip of him talking to her. I guess this was after Admiral Kirk came on the bridge.
Oh yeah, he's on the bridge. He's kind of Mr. like Commander Decker's #1. I don't know who this Kirk jerk is.
And whoever's like, he's probably just saved your life. That was not in the version I saw. So I assume that's probably a director's cut. So I assume that I saw the theatrical version. But it was also special edition, though, if I'm allowed to use that term among you Warsians, because there, like, I think the reason you can tell, well, there's two things that I noticed. One, this is the most obvious one. On Spock's scene on Vulcan, if you can see the whole statue of the Vulcan and not just the feet, you're watching special edition. If you just see the feet on Vulcan of the statue, you're watching like the original OG version. So I saw like, oh, they made the whole statue of the things on Vulcan. And also and again, seeing it on a big screen, stuff I've never noticed, there's a part when there's, what is Epsilon, whatever it's called, the listening station.
Yeah.
They're playing the Klingon recording.
Epsilon 9. Yeah.
And it's translating that video in English. Or
on
Federation Standard. Yeah, on the side. I've never noticed that in my life. And I think that's probably a special edition thing. Because you're doing video within a video. And I'm sure they didn't do that in 1979. So that was kind of cool. Because I just noticed a whole bunch of more little details. Like, again, which I think is theater. And then also that. So, Daniel, what version did you watch it on?
So this time I watched the director's edition,
Okay.
director's cut, only because that's what was on Amazon.
Okay. Right.
And I don't know the differences. I couldn't tell you. I don't specifically remember, but
Longer, apparently.
I don't know. It still felt long, but
Right.
I did watch that version. And I do believe that's probably my first time watching that version. I think traditionally I've only seen the theatrical cut.
Mm-hmm. And did you watch, was it TV, computer, phone, laptop, iPad?
No, it was on my TV. Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. And Darren, what about you? Your two-parters. Did you do like one part in one way and two part in the other?
I know. I'm trying to remember which one I have because mine would have been the director's edition. I was just looking at it on my, and I actually, the more that I think about it, I think the director's cut was actually shorter.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. So, yeah. So I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I could have done research, but I didn't. Why bother? So, the one thing about the Fathom events, other than starting late, they did have because I thought like usually with Fathom events they have a little extra, and they did. It wasn't a lot, but they did have a little kind of extra interviews with people. It was I've forgotten all of this by now. It's been like a week, but anyway, it was the writer, I believe, or one of the writers. And because a lot of people passed away, and then maybe one of the producers or something. But they kind of regurgitated the whole the origins, movie to TV to movie, and then Star Wars and blah 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 blah. But anyway, but it's talking about sort of and then Robert Wise getting involved as the director, and then the story changes, and there was something about like if it didn't get produced within X time, Nimoy and Shatner, or maybe it was just Shatner, but either one or both had a thing in the contracts that they get script approval if it doesn't.
Ooh.
And so I think it and so I forget if it went that long or not. But that was another thing they had to deal with, because then you had Gene too. So yeah, but it was interesting. They talked about the original science fiction story they borrowed from for the idea, but it was all it was interesting. It was kind of interesting little short piece, a little more information about it. But let's and I get this was something they said, and I've never thought about this, and maybe this is obvious when I say it, but I've never thought. They said it's the first TV show to be made into a movie, and I was like, "What? Really? Does that surprise you all to know that?"
That is surprising. I feel like that's cannot be the case, but okay.
But that's 1979. Can you think of any TV show that was made into a movie before in 1970? You know, I mean, everything you think of is almost modern.
That's true, and most things would have been like books or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess maybe.
I mean, Mission Impossible didn't happen until the 90s.
Movie.
You know, I mean, because like you just start thinking about because obviously TV. I mean, TV's been around a little bit, but like TV was like 50s and 60s. And so, you know, what were they going to rush into production? And apparently Star Trek was the first thing that made it. But that was kind of weird.
What was so popular that you would... I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what they said. So, I mean, I tend to believe them. But so when Darren, what you were saying, I did try to, I don't know if I was ever successful, but trying to do that sort of, you know, person of just seeing a TV series and it's a movie for the first time ever. And you're just seeing this. And so the challenges of like, how do you reinvent like what you said was a small thing and black and white for a lot of people, into the big screen experience. And so, you know, however many years later. So I always feel like maybe that gives it a little bit of curve, but you may or may not, you know, give that curve in your assessment. So I want to talk about the story because much like y'all, I thought like, oh, there's not much to it, blah, blah, Voyager. I know the ending. But I don't know, I kind of got a little bit...
All right, sorry, I'm poking a hole in this guy's theory. I was just doing a search. So apparently there was a 1954 Dragnet movie based on the 1951 NBC show.
Dragnet?
Yeah, and I think there's, again, maybe it's more of like what we call a movie.
Okay.
Because there could be like a cinematic movie, but it's like really limited. This maybe was the first like broad release, like, you know. But
I've never heard that because I mean I've seen
say,
Dragnet, like the remake movie. I didn't know there was it really Joe Friday on the big screen?
Yeah, this says was 1954.
Was it a TV movie
4.7 million
or a cinematic release?
It was a theatrical feature film entitled Dragnet that was adapted of the series.
Okay, well I wonder, it's like, but I mean, was it the same people?
Released with Webb and Alexander and all the same people.
Well, there you go, maybe.
So yeah, I was gonna say like 79. That's TV's been around a while,
but not a lot of popular enough to. But yeah, okay. Well, there we go. He's corrected there. So asterisk. But as to the story, I don't know. I'm gonna admit. I mean, this is kind of spoiling where I'm gonna go. I really got a lot more out of the story this time. Maybe it's just the theatrical experience. So let's start with Spock first, which we get shades of a Discovery Spock here. I'm sensing I'm sensing a thing. So Daniel, you're a Spock appreciative person.
Boom.
What do you think of the Spock story here? Again, going back to TOS, we just get 3 years of Spock, and then now we're doing this motion picture story. What do you think of Spock's story?
It's so funny that you mentioned Discovery, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, it's been a while since I've watched the motion picture, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe Discovery doesn't deserve all of the credit for this terrible idea that Spock can just sense crazy things happening in the universe. Because for some reason, it's never explained in the movie, Spock just has this precognition of what's happening, and okay, I guess. I was actually, in terms of the story, I was surprised. I guess I'd never sat down and thought about it, but this entire film is a Spock story. I mean, this everything about the plot revolves around Spock's character development. I'm like a kind of a truncated version of it, because he gets on board and he's, emotionless, grumpy Spock, and then by the time he's crying, happy, buddy Spock. And it's interesting that this is a Spock movie. Like, I don't think of that when I think of the motion picture, but it's like, no, this is definitely, like, every little piece of this is built around a Spock story. So the V'ger stuff to me is super duper weak. I don't love V'ger. I don't understand V'ger. I think it's kind of broken in a lot of different ways, which is fine. There's, but using it as like a vehicle for Spock, you can see where, at least I can appreciate where they were going and why they used it, and so that he can talk about logic and how emotion's important and all this sort of thing. again, that entire construct is built around Spock. And if you look at it that way, it kind of works. But the concept of V'ger, I think, falls on its face if you take it sort of seriously. But I guess we can get into that.
I mean, and Spock does have, he doesn't have a beard, but he does have some long hair starting out. So we do get, haircut Spock by the time he arrives in the Vulcan ship. It's a choreo of some sort. So Darren, what'd you think of the Spock arc? But getting the band back together, right? We're all, I'm jumping ahead.
We're getting them back together.
Everyone's there. We're missing one person, but oh well. I'd prefer to have a Vulcan at the science station because stereotype. But, whatever. And then,
can you imagine if they didn't show any of the Spock on Vulcan stuff? And it's literally like the first third of the movie. No, but you're like, you're a fan and you're watching this movie going, where the frick is Spock?
The most popular character. Don't tell Shatner.
Yeah. And, hey, guys, we found Spock's shuttle. It's right there. It's coming to dock with us. It's coming to dock.
That would have actually made that better. And like, so the whole transporter melting scene exists to create the tension of who is coming on board. And if you remove that earlier stuff, that's actually kind of an interesting sort of idea. Who is that? At this point,
it's our Vulcan science officer.
We know who's there.
Mr. Not Spock. It's
that is fun. Yeah, because we get the line from McCoy, as I understand it. So, is it could the line cover that whole first 5 minutes? I mean, because it's I like it. I'm not trying to get rid of it just to get rid of it, but it would be interesting to because it does, like you said, build up the where is he? Are we not going to talk about the fact that we're missing something?
Right. And at this point, is he retired? Is he dead? Is he stationed on another place? Well, and it's also interesting how they introduce him to the Enterprise, because I was thinking this when I was watching it, because you have the scene. Well, again, it's very drama filled, because it's like, we think it's a courier. Don't hail him. Don't ask, hey, who's on knock knock? Who's on board? It's like, oh, they want to come aboard. Sure. Don't even care who it is.
Aren't you guys on an important mission? Nah, we can stop for a second to get the mail.
Nope. So at least they have the moment where, and then we got to draw it out an extra 5 seconds where it's like, what does the computer say? It's like, shuttle docked, 1 occupant, Starfleet inactive. Like, what the? Why are we telling us this?
The letters are moving S, P, O.
Yeah, basically. So it opens, and we get that great music cue where he steps in, and it's like, and it's like, Mr. Spock, and at least we get a few moments.
Aboard.
Yeah, I know. He's like, permission to come aboard. And he's like, granted, and he's like, boom, bye,
granted,
see
Mr.
ya.
Spock.
Spock out. and then we get also that great moment on the bridge where everyone's just like, although it's the very, very ham-fisted Sulu. It's Mr. I gotta talk slow so Kirk can answer Spock. It's obviously Shatner had to say Spock.
But hang on, just real quick on that one scene when he's talking to Chekhov.
Uh-huh.
He says, permission to come aboard, sir.
Right.
And I don't know why. I don't know
technically,
why.
if you're
he is inactive.
civilian. Yeah.
And
even in that case, you're not obligated to call someone sir.
But Spock is Spock.
I know, I get it.
He's so polite.
It still feels weird. It feels weird because
his human mother raised him right. Okay.
It just
now,
feels
Spock, when you come on board
yes,
Starship,
sir,
you
and
make
yes,
sure
ma'am.
you say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. But anyway,
a man
all that
didn't
to
raise
say,
no fool.
all that to say, I think, I agree with you. I think it is very much a Spock story. It's him finding
Answers.
He's finding answers, and I think, who was it? I know someone who watched. I think it was Aaron Harvey, our friend at the network, watched the end of Star Trek Continues, which does a really good chance of transitioning from the original series to the motion picture. But it also starts to sow seeds about Spock and kind of like what's he been up to, what's he doing. But all that to say, in the motion picture, it's definitely Kirk, Spock, and McCoy back at it again, and Decker, who won't survive the movie, but
Spoilers. Yeah, and I mean, you said it, Daniel. I'll just make it obvious. But yeah, you have Voyager, who's this machine, full logic. Spock now full logic, but Voyager's asking questions, and Spock thought he wanted full logic, but maybe something else is more. And then he realizes that friendship, and then Voyager communes with a human, and then maybe Spock communes with his human half, and then go from there. And a lot of foolish human emotions, isn't that right, Mr. Spock? So yeah, let's talk about Decker. And I don't know, I think this is maybe a Pulaski type thing. Did they set the character up for failure? Because I was partially on Decker's side throughout the movie, but then Decker was kind of an ass about it too. So I'm like, all right, buddy. I mean, if you're nicer, I'm on your side like 100%, but you're kind of being an ass about it. So like, maybe you dialed it down a little bit, but I don't know. Darren, which I mean, actor problems aside, what'd you think of Captain's, now demoted Commander Decker?
I like Decker. I feel, he kind of gets the shaft. I mean, he's been through all this refit. I'll say this: he's definitely a better spot for the center chair than Harriman was. That boy needed another couple rounds through the simulator. But no, I think it all worked out, for him.
not for Decker.
That's like you're just like, yeah, it's fine.
Look, he got
all
to
that whining
merge
for
with
an
his
hour and a half. It all worked out.
He got to merge with his space girlfriend and the space probe, and everybody's happy. And no, I like Decker. I feel, that was well acted, and I never disliked him. Like, I never felt like, oh, who's this guy trying to get in the way? Like, they did a good enough job of establishing him as like a legitimate person who knows what he's doing, and especially with like the
wormhole.
warp scene, the wormhole scene, where he Decker makes the right call. Kirk does not. Decker steps aside for Spock because he obviously realizes he knows more. Like, Decker doesn't make any mistakes. Decker is a good captain.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a mistake, but he certainly seems to give every option that's the wrong one. Like, oh, we should scan them. No, we're not going to do that. He's basically Lieutenant Worfing a lot in this episode, is what I'm saying. It's like, oh, we should attack. No, I don't think we're going to do that either.
Well, that's true once we get to Kirk in his element, but everything leading up to that, he makes all the right decisions, and Kirk is kind of getting his mojo back.
And again, I don't want to, because we'll get to Kirk in a second. I don't want to defend Kirk. But maybe is there an argument that Captain Decker is more like for lack of a better word, an engineering captain than a command captain? He knows where everything is on the ship.
Look, they're going to take who they can get when there's only one ship in intercept range in the quadrant.
In orbit of
Earth. At Earth.
Because there's no starships on Earth. Okay.
Look, they got that one big 3D printer. Sure, it spits out one starship a year, and we like it that way.
But there's a party at Alpha Centauri that everyone's been invited to. But so, Matt, what'd you think of Captain Decker? Decker
Matt.
unit.
I'll go.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it too. Who's
right.
Matt?
Maybe
Matt Decker.
Matt Decker.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Decker gets screwed. I mean, he does. He gets screwed.
Well, look, we're not talking about the ending, Daniel, so I don't think
he gets screwed over like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Is he Cameron to Kirk's Ferris Bueller?
I thought we weren't talking about Harriman.
I know, but that's what it feels like.
I don't know. I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, Daniel. Oh.
Now I gotta watch 2001 and Ferris Bueller. God.
But he does. He gets the raw end of the deal pretty much overall. First of all, I don't. Now I'm struggling to remember exactly how the circumstances laid this out. But how did Aliyah get assigned?
So yeah,
I think she was the other replacement. I think it was the Vulcan science officer and so that died, and I think she was the other replacement.
Okay, I just feel like she shouldn't have been assigned to his
because
command.
of her previous history.
Right.
Look,
right.
her oath of celibacy is on record, Daniel.
Oh boy! But then
whatever that means.
It's kind of like a little. I mean, and this is where I can forgive some things. We have precedent that happens later. Patrick Picard wasn't 100% the Beverly Crusher was on board his ship, I think. But anyway.
Not now, Beverly.
I do feel, I genuinely feel bad for Decker, and I sympathize with him for almost all of the movie. Basically up until Ilea comes back as a probe, and he still can't separate his feelings from her, and then you're like, come on, dude. I get it. She looks like your old girlfriend, but she's not your old girlfriend at this point. It's probably time to let it go. But that doesn't matter. That's a totally separate issue. Kirk gives him the Enterprise, and then comes back 8 months later and says, "I want my Enterprise."
Well, now that you've cleaned it up for me, thanks for doing the detail work.
Yeah, and no, he gets shafted, and then he gets shafted, and then he gets shafted, and it's a terrible situation. And I think he's a pretty competent officer, and I think he probably would have been a pretty decent captain. He never got the chance, and he got screwed over by Kirk because Kirk was selfish, and that's it. Kirk was entirely selfish. He strong-armed his way through the Admiralty to get that ship back, and I wonder what would have happened if he didn't. I wonder how they would have written it if that was not the case. But
now we're watching the movie. There's a Captain Decker of the Enterprise. We're like, well, where's Kirk? There's no Kirk or no Spock. Not my Star Trek. Yeah, it was, and then we get a little bit of shades of Data and Worf about the role of what a first officer does throughout the movie. You are exactly correct.
Well, I mean, he was stewing all the way down from the bridge to his luxury captain quarters.
Man, they really need to do it in that ready room.
Which, if those are the captain quarters, does that mean Decker had to leave those quarters?
I didn't even think about that. I know where they are.
It's one thing if it's the Admiral quarters or the guests, the VIP quarters. But if those are the captain's quarters, the Decker's walking out with a box, because and he's just glaring at Kirk. That he had just cleared his quarters when he is glaring at Kirk when Kirk makes that wrong turn and he asks the ensign for the triple lift. He's like, man, I just had to clear out and go down to the sub diplomat's quarters. Thanks, Kirk.
Can you imagine, though? But seriously, put yourself in Decker's...
Then he moved into the science officer's quarters, but then Spock moved him out of that one.
Decker's just sick of moving, man.
Decker's is no first officer quarters, just like there's no first officer station.
Decker's personal log. Today has not gone well. I've been... And then, then his girlfriend shows up, and he looks like... Man, it's not looking good for me. I'm trying to impress this girl.
Oh, I'm going to move into her quarters with her. Oh, shoot, she died.
Now she's an alien probe. Great.
So it's complicated.
Put yourself in that man's shoes. He has
not a great week.
Yeah, he has his own, and it's such a truncated timeline. You put him. He has his career ambitions literally ripped out from under him in 1 minute from this arrogant boss man he's probably only talked to a couple times. Then he finds out how Earth is under attack, and your ex-girlfriend is going to be part of the crew, but she's taken a vow of celibacy. She wants nothing to do with you. Then she dies, and now you're kind of screwed. So this guy just gets shafted over and over and over again. I feel bad for Decker.
And one of the things, and I get it, it's the ending. I'm not going to fight it or anything, but the ending where it's no. Kirk, I want this just as much as you won the Enterprise. I wanted this. I'm like, you just found out about this 2 minutes ago. I don't know what.
Really? I was gonna say that just ties it off in a nice little bow.
We got rid of all the guest stars. Done and done. It's like, okay. Well.
We either by death of transporter or alien probe or
they Star Trek continued them. Kill off all the guest stars. Keep your solid. It's not good. It's not great. Yeah. Also, I felt sorry for Decker. Again, not fault of anyone. Probably doesn't help his uniform either. I don't know. He's the only one I really noticed in his onesie. So, look, women have gotten screwed by Star Trek costumes, and so maybe it's just time for the men to be. But those onesies were not, hiding a lot. But anyway, so moving on. So we've talked about Kirk, so let's talk about Admiral Kirk.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going there. Is James T. Kirk the Badmiral of this episode, Daniel?
He's not a Badmiral. I wouldn't call him that because he doesn't have nefarious intentions.
Get the Enterprise back by any means.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them nefarious intentions. I would call them selfish intentions. He's not trying to like take over the universe or steal a healing planet or kill all the Borg. He wants his old job back and his old friends. Like I can understand that motivation. He's not trying to kill. Yeah, he's not trying to kill anyone or anything like that. So I think Badmiral is a stretch, but I would absolutely 100% call Kirk a bad admiral. He's terrible at it. He's awful. And he should have listened to his future self when he told Picard, don't let them get. He didn't know it.
But he hadn't learned that lesson yet. He's learning it right now.
Yeah. But no, he is a terrible admiral, and he shouldn't. He was. What did he call himself? Director of Starfleet Operations.
Chief of Operations.
Chief.
Yeah,
of
he had a
Operations.
Pretty cushy job.
I mean, he's up there. I mean, because all right, and this is going to be military knowledge, which I know is different, but like, it would be like the number 3 position in all of Starfleet if it goes by like how the military goes.
Yeah, and this is still youngish Kirk, right? Mm-hmm. What is he, like 45 at this point, or something like around there? He's still probably he's still peak Kirkish, kinda. So maybe be happy with where you are, Kirk. Not try to steal someone else's job at this point.
Animated series had it right. Kirk is a jerk.
He's a jerk. He's definitely a jerk. Also, he's not a bad admiral, but he's a jerk.
One line that always stands out in this movie, and maybe I'm making too much of it, but it always kind of gets me, or it perks me up, whatever, is that it's when he and Scotty are in the office pod, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if this is like racism or just like they're trying to be funny or whatever, but like Scotty's like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it always gets me. And you guys tell me if I'm making too much of it, but she's like, "Oh, you got her back, sir. I bet you it wasn't that easy with Nogura." And he's like, "You're right." I'm like, "Are we just being Asian racist? What's the you're right about?"
Well, no, he was being Scottish. I think he was mimicking Scotty's, which I'm not saying that's better, but
I just felt because right if you say Admiral Nagura, and I was like, okay, that's just odd because it'd be weird if it'd be like, I mean, I'm saying it's all right, but it'd be all right if they had showed Admiral Nagura and we had heard him. You're like, oh, that's what he sounds like. You're not just being weird. But anyway, that's just like always.
Especially since Kirk was super confident. He's like, I have a 3-minute meeting with this admiral, and then I'm getting my command back.
Yeah, it won't take more. I'm going to a 5-minute meeting that won't take more than 2. And it's like, report to me. It's like, okay, Mr.
These are the
Confidence.
pictures that I have of you and a yeoman. So
you're gonna give me the Enterprise, and you're gonna like it.
So anyway, that's just a weird thing. But anyway, so Darren, what do you think of Kirk's House of Cards shenanigans intrigue?
House of Cards. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't. I agree with you. I don't think it's full Badmiral. That's a bit much. Like, we've had many really bad admirals in Star Trek. But yeah, it's
none of these are intrinsically bad, but just like I'll list some things here. So, A, getting the Enterprise, that's a big one. So, but it's a big, is it an excuse or like would it just, so it's high stakes, unknown probe, it's doing things with the Klingons, which we haven't even talked about, but anyway, doing things with Klingons, Epsilon,
those aren't Klingons. They don't look like Klingons you've ever seen.
Hashtag not my
all
Klingons.
Of Star Trek.
Not my Star Trek. But anyway, so, but like, is it just happenstance? Like if there'd been like a lower stakes, like, there's a Klingon ship wandering in, won't answer hails. I need to take the Enterprise over, but just by luck, or was this looking for an excuse?
I think Bones says it right. He's like, dang it, Bone, there's a thing out there. There's always a thing out there. It's like, that's not enough excuse.
You're pushing.
Your people know your jobs that you just took from them. They know them.
Yeah, Bones, as always, is the man.
Yeah, and what do you think? Does Kirk have to get his sort of space legs back? Having a first officer that's not Spock.
Think of it this way: what would the movie be like without Decker? where it's literally just the Enterprise crew back on the Enterprise, and you don't have Decker at all, you would kind of lose all of the Kirk, like you just said, getting his space legs back.
And yes, you sort of get slightly get that getting the gang back together. Blues Brothers kind of, I don't know, whatever example you would use.
We're on a mission from Vija.
It's interesting because both Kirk and Spock they kind of regress in character development to basically, throughout this movie, come to the point where we know them as. Like,
True.
Spock loses all of his emotional stuff that he gained in the original series. He loses that, and then by the end of the movie, all of a sudden he's back to, like, quote unquote, what we would call prime Spock. And where Kirk was like Captain Kirk in the series, he loses that a little bit.
He loves the ship. His ship was his biggest love.
Yeah, exactly. And then he gains that back. And by the end of the movie, basically Kirk and Spock specifically are back where they were right at the end of TOS. And so it's without Decker, Kirk doesn't learn his lesson. Without V'ger, Spock doesn't learn his lesson. So those elements are necessary for those characters to kind of, it's basically kind of a reset. Just like, I'm sure, what was it called? Phase 2. Like Phase 2 was supposed to be. It's sort of a reset for a lot of the characters that we're familiar with. And I think that's kind of why they did it.
And it's interesting. I mean, I didn't think about this until you said it, because even Bones leaves. So the trio has left. Everyone else is still where they were. No, maybe people got promoted, Chekhov's manning security, but he's still there. And Chapel's a doctor now, because that's how that works. Nurses get promoted to doctor. That's how it works. But anyway,
in the 23rd century, maybe.
You could just be a nurse that has a higher rank. But anyway, but yeah, that's how we have to sort of get the trio to come back. So we got McCoy to come back and Kirk to come back.
So is it basically like it needs to be like All Good Things, where it's like, yes, Worf.
That's right. Yes, McCoy. He's now a hippie in a small colony called Hactoria. Cool. So I guess let's talk about the rest. I mean, I don't know. It didn't seem like there's a lot for them, and that's not necessarily a criticism. I'm sure they would have liked to do more. But Uhura, Sulu, Chekhov, Scotty. Any notes about them other than a million uniforms to wear?
I'll say this with Scotty, like, it was interesting to kind of feel like, again, it's the beginning of that transition to the Scotty we see after the motion picture. He's got his mustache. He's, starting to
season.
Look like. Season. That's
terrible thing to say to a man.
But yeah, I'll say I like how Scotty is in this movie. He gets it. He gets how Kirk is feeling, and we'll give it to him.
And I'd forgotten,
except for those terrible uniforms.
Yeah.
Again, awful uniforms. Just terrible.
Just like the Navy of modern era. I'm not an expert, but I've seen it. How many different uniforms were there? Like, I'm not talking about like all of them. I'm like one person. How many uniforms did one person wear? There had to been like 3 variants. There was like your V-neck, show off your chest hair if you're a man. Then there was the no V-neck collar, the collar. And I think there was like a third one. Like, it was sort of like generations changing uniforms every scene.
Yeah, too much. And they're all ugly. Every single one of them is ugly. Every single, except for Disco McCoy. Every single one of them is
Except
ugly.
for Disco.
And that's not a uniform. So that's just casual clothes. He was probably just
Casual Friday.
chilling at his apartment or whatever. Yeah.
And also they never, I don't know. It's hard to me to be 1979, but Darren, you're our semi-expert here. They didn't explain the belt. Like, are you just supposed to know, watch the animated series, that that's a life support belt?
Yeah.
Like, I never knew what it was for the longest
yeah,
time.
or that
until
it
I saw
like
the animated series.
It reads the yeah, it's like their life readings,
but like they didn't use
like,
it. Like, if you're gonna have
Yeah,
this
I
thing and
know.
not explain it and not use it, then it's like, why do you have it?
It's Star Trek. Why do we have to explain things?
Well, they explain things. That's the beauty of Star Trek.
I know. I agree with you. Yeah, I don't know, maybe they just ran out of time, because they
No,
didn't
they
budget
did not
their
run
time.
out of time.
Time.
No,
They
that's
had
it. They
plenty
ran
of
out of time because they didn't budget their time well.
Time.
No, they had plenty of time. They could have added 1,000 more lines into this movie with no problem. They had plenty of time.
There was actually a scene. I mean, this is just a little note, just because I'm talking about the rest. Sulu got to be in command for a moment. I'm trying to remember what it was. I think probably at the end when all the three left. Well, four left. Only three came back. But anyway, Sulu was put in command. I think maybe one other time. So that was nice. There, giving that continuity of command. Got brought back Yeoman Rand, who's she's not a yeoman anymore, but I forget what rank she had for the transporter.
She can't become a doctor?
Yeah, McCoy. And Chapel's back as being a doctor, so it's nice to just bring those back. So let's get into maybe now that you've rewatched it, what were sort of your not good moments, worst moments, your critiquing moments? So one thing that I was surprised, so I'll say one word, but a positive spin on it. So I was like, okay, this movie, it's them staring at things and the special effects. I would say I was surprised it actually didn't happen for the longest time. I mean, in my opinion, it didn't happen for the longest time. The only lag for me was when, to me, Voyager's funny. But when and I also never felt like I had a good perception of how they were traveling through Voyager until I saw it on the big screen. And now I only have half a thing. But it seems like they go to, and it's hard for me to do this audio, but I'll try. So they go to face Voyager, for lack of a better term. And then they go over it and then come down.
Yeah.
But that's where the lag is. So to me, I thought the whole movie was just them special effects, stop, but it really was a good pace until that. But then the going over Voyager was just the whole special effects for so if you
honestly, I never got a good sense of V'ger until the Eagle Moss model came out recently.
Yes.
That's what told me what V'ger looked like. I think maybe it would have been better if they get to the inside of the cloud and there's a bubble of no cloud around V'ger and you just get one wide shot and they're you can't quite tell how big it is because it's supposed to be huge. And then when the Enterprise gets up close, then you get that sense of, oh dear God, it's ginormous. It's 12th power, man.
I know.
12th power.
And so to me, that was probably the worst moment as far as pacing, because up till then it had been pretty pacey, and after that to me it was pretty pacey. But just we're going to do special effects for 10 minutes, and look, I get it. I mean, I'm not criticizing the special effects; they're interesting, kaleidoscope, LSD trippy looking, and that's fine. But it is just looking at special effects for 5 or however long that lasts. So to me, that was kind of the worst moment, and kind of where to me it gets its reputation. So if you do something with that part, I feel like maybe it loses that reputation. But that was me. So Daniel, what was kind of your worst moments?
So the famous scene where Scotty and Kirk are approaching the Enterprise, and we get a good 15 to 20 minute sequence.
Uh-huh.
It's a great sequence.
Love
Okay.
that. But I know.
Okay,
real
quick.
Go ahead.
No. Okay. Two things I want to break down. I want to break down that scene real quick. But before I even do that,
You gonna storyboard it?
I think this movie, all of the positive you could say about all of these great big sequences, and you were just talking about the entire thing you were just talking about, Philip, with the special effects. The special effects should get a lot of the credit. But really, the only way that these things are palatable, even in the slightest, is Jerry Goldsmith's score. Jerry Goldsmith's score holds this movie together.
It is the glue.
It is the glue. That's the only thing that holds this movie together. It makes the boring parts watchable. It makes the good parts amazing, and it makes the standout parts spectacular. It is the only thing that makes this movie good.
Imagine watching this movie without the music. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Cough.
So for example, that scene when Scotty and Kirk are approaching the Enterprise, that scene is semi-watchable / semi-good because of that amazing score. That is awesome. The score is amazing. The Enterprise is still super cool, but you get sick of it halfway through, and the only reason you stick with it is because the music is awesome. Okay, anyways, I watched the scene, and I wanted to try to realize, and this is going to be difficult to visualize while I'm doing it on this
I think I know
podcast,
what you're going to say. Go ahead.
But I wanted to track the flight path.
Did it make sense, the flight path they were taking?
No. So
I did guess.
So from the starbase,
He's showing him. He's showing him.
He's
the
taking
ship.
the scenic route.
Yeah.
but it's not even. It's a double scenic route because
is.
they circle around twice. So they're behind. It's gonna be hard to describe.
They come along the side.
Bow stern.
No.
Fore aft.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna be able to do that, right? So from behind the Enterprise, which is sitting in dry dock, and they're on the starbase, they're behind it to the right. So they swing around across it from the right to the left side. Then they go all the way, and by the way, where they need to dock is on the left side. So they're already right where they need to be.
I didn't notice that.
They could just sneak in there and be where they need to be. But they pass all the way around.
Scotty's just running the Uber meter, and he wants to get that 5-star review.
He goes all the way around the left side of dry dock, all the way.
And that's the Christmas present part, right? Because you can only see little bits. We're gonna tease you, like a weird Starship strip show.
All the way to the front, all the way to the right side of that dry dock, all the way back around, and then they kind of sneak in there. And it's like this again. The scene doesn't need to exist for this long, and they just stretch it out and stretch it out and stretch it out, and like that's. I watched that and I'm like, no, you didn't need to do that. Kirk doesn't need to see every angle of the damn ship.
Instagram, purposes.
Anyways,
no, I because again, I'm a defender of the concept of the scene, but as you say, I get okay if he skips the initial because again, watching it on the theater, you can see everything. Okay, he skips that first thing, like you said. He's like, but you're going to show him around. That's fine. But like when he comes back around, like I was almost thinking because it's been a while since I've seen it. If he went into the actual main shuttle bay, perfect. Okay, that's fine. I see. But he actually has to like go double around to the docking point that he just passed like 2 seconds ago. It isn't like the 5 minutes ago, which he passed the first time. This is like the second time he's now passing where he needs to go to then like do a double around. That was a little like, okay, we could have cut about 30 seconds there.
Or more.
Look, I'm a transporter chief, not a pilot.
I'm not a pilot.
Obviously, Scotty. Obviously.
Scotty, didn't you miss the docking point?
Did I mention?
No, I just wanted to show you the. See how we painted a new
the
logo
scenic
there?
route, Captain.
Thruster.
Look at this! Look at this new deflector dish. No, it's totally new and awesome looking.
Really, they've upgraded? I thought we were using the same one. Well, I mean the same one, but it's look how we painted it.
Heck, he could have docked at the other dock that's right behind the bridge that Spock came through.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of
places to dock on the ship. Yeah,
there are.
That was I did. Yeah. Now, what about you, Darren? What are any moments stand out about? Like, okay.
I love that scene that Daniel just
we all
ripped
hate
to
Daniel.
shreds,
Boo.
but that's
Get off the stage, Daniel.
Here nor there. No, again, like I said at the very beginning, I get the context of, yes, it's a really long scene. It is held together by the music, but if you were a Star Trek fan and you had never seen anything to that scale, like it's my favorite scene visually. Like I don't mind just watching that scene. It's just so fun. Just the model holds up so well, and they get so close to it. But yeah, I'd say I think they need it to be a little clearer earlier on with like what V'ger is and what V'ger looks like. I think they take a long time to figure that out. Also the fact that at the very end, it's the bait and switch name, like Voyager. Oh, it's Voyager 6, not V'ger, like, I don't know if that switch is held up, but I don't know. I guess I don't not like the motion picture. I think, like I said, usually I just don't pop it in because I feel like it's going to be super long, but it's really not that long in relative. It's just slow. It's just pacing issues. But I will give it this, that it gives us a lot of sets, that we end up using for decades to come. So, that's money well spent.
Yes and no. I mean, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like, so for instance, so like the bridge, obviously, the engineering, obviously, yeah, that's too. We don't keep the quarters. I don't think we keep those.
Engineering corridors.
But like the
No, we do. I mean, that's next gen corridors.
no quarters.
Quarters. Sorry, I
yeah.
thought you said corridors.
Because I was like, that's just a weird room. With chairs that Spock doesn't like.
That's true.
Why are you making him sit down? He doesn't like the chair. All right. Anyway, but also the crew lounge, and I'm not necessarily critiquing the crew lounge, but like, just think in TOS, the crew lounge was like this small room with a couple 3D chessboards and Spock if he brought his instrument and Uhura singing that, and then the food replicators. That was it. Now we get this sort of like, the futuristic looking, like it's all nothing except for you press buttons and lights appear, and it's like the size of a really large room. I don't know how to critique, anyway. So they've really upgraded
huge.
it. They've upgraded it. They knocked down like 3
it's
crew lounges to make a super lounge.
Well, I'm looking. I have the Wikipedia article open, and they actually have a list of set construction costs. So
very expensive movie because they cut the budget for 2. So
yeah. I mean, overall, there was $2 million spent on sets, just sets. But like I said, we get a lot of use out of those. The bridge cost $205,000. That recreation deck cost $252,000. That deck costs more than the bridge.
Well, it's like 3 times.
It was
big.
a pretty set.
It's also it's huge.
The problem with the bridge is somebody put Spock on the wrong side of Kirk, though.
Oh, I noticed. I mean, it's such a small thing, but I did notice because now my memory's playing tricks. What does the rest of the movies look like with the Enterprise? Because yes, the science station. So the science station. All right, I'm looking at Kirk's station behind him. So the Spock's was on the left side, on the back. Now it's the center throne. Like there used to be a turbo lift there, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, but now there's this huge science station, just like center aft bridge station, and then like Uhura, I think, is like moved to the right because she also used to be. I think she was at the center. That's where it was. Uhura was in the center, so now she's moved to the right, and they just have randos on the left. Like we're not using the left side of the back set anymore. It's just randos, And so it's like we wanted Spock's center for Kirk's chair like right behind, which is weird because like if you want a science update, you got to be like, I'm not looking at that view screen.
Yeah, it's. I don't know, but
I kind of did like the okay. Wait, any other glaring like, oh boy, this movie? If not, let's go to good things. I did. It's a small thing, I know, but I did like when Admiral Kirk first arrived, and you get that bridge in chaos. Because there's a lot going on, you got
there's a lot going on,
hanging from things and testing, and it kind of gave a little realistic, even though it kind of has that, 2001, even kind of JJ, though it's a little more, JJ's more modern and looks better. But if JJ was done in 2000 or 1979, this is what it would look like. But it sort of has that look, but still, it's kind of cool, like trying to make things look like people are actually doing stuff. But
yeah, I did like that scene. It did with the crazy busy bridge. That was nice. I like that
because it's supposed to give that sort of like we're not ready, and then and I guess this goes back to our not so good Admiral Kirk when he demands to go to warp, because we have not talked about the wormhole scene enough, guys. I got to point this out. What? Seeing this again, would you all?
Torpedoes are.
Because I still don't know what a wormhole effect is. I mean, I'm not a warp theorist, so I don't know how you. Because
when you have an unstable imbalance in the deuterium mixture, and you haven't run your simulations.
Well, one thing that I got this time that I've never gotten before is that had that meteor or asteroid, I don't know what the right word is, if that was not there, they would have just automatically come out. Because I think they were saying like, oh, we're going to leave this thing in about like 30 seconds. The problem is there's a big rock there in about 20 seconds. And so that was sort of like the, oh, okay. Otherwise, it was just going to stop by itself. Like we were going to stop automatically. But Darren, any other kind of good moments for this show that you have, or movie that you mentioned a few, but that you haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, I mean, I like I love all the V'ger stuff. I love that beautiful map painting where the Enterprise is kind of like butted up against the hexagon. Like it's a like Daniel said, like it's a beautiful film. Like they definitely put their money on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Pacing and other things wise, it's lacking in some ways, but visually, it's the motion picture. Like that's what it is.
And it's one of those things, they didn't do it again, but for that transition from TV to movie, they included sort of the TV captain's log music, which if I think like for us who have seen so many Star Trek movies at this point, kind of, and I don't know if you're used to this because I know you aren't big TOSers, but it almost feels off watching it as a movie when you sort of get like the, I forget how the music tune goes, but during the log, it's sort of like, it has that sort of log music.
Yeah, it's like captain's log, something.
And it's like, but that's what they did in the TV show, so it's kind of cool to see that sort of, we're trying to keep something, so you get used to it. Oh, I know, it's sort of like the do 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 do, and so that was kind of. But Daniel, any positives or anything that stands out as a Star Trek movie?
Yeah, I was going to mention the music because specifically the cues that are taken directly from the original series. But
Alexander Courage, I guess, would be
Right. And I was going to say that I now watching it, the biggest takeaway watching it this time for me was I get the people who now say that the motion picture is the most TOS-like movie that there is. I get that. Between the music, which I didn't pick up on earlier, a lot of that sort of classic TOS music that is like woven directly into the movie. And it's really interesting. There are shots of Leonard Nimoy as Spock, because Leonard Nimoy is the only one that actually wears the same color that he wore during the series.
Very good point.
And
yes.
Leonard Nimoy is also kind of, he ages a lot slower than most mortal people. Aged a lot slower, I should say.
Picardian qualities.
Yeah, there were shots. There were shots of Spock when he with a blue uniform, from the shoulders up. That I'm like, you know what? He does look a little older than Spock, but it doesn't look. This could have been the original series. This could have been Spock in the original series, and there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on, and there's the differences between. I guess I would call the motion picture. I would put it in its own category, and then I would say 2 on. From 2 on has like sort of a unified sort of look to it.
The Monster Maroon era.
Right, the Monster Maroon era, and that feels more like movie era to me. This feels like a leftover of TOS now.
It's that transition.
Yeah, it feels like the big transition movie, but it feels like this feels like even Shatner looks significantly younger, even though I think Wrath of Khan was filmed like a year or 2 later. Like everybody feels more like TOS than Khan, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's just the uniform change. I don't know if it's just the production design, but it feels more TOS than it does Khan on those sort of movies. So I liked that. I liked that feeling of this is the TOS movie, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Because I remember reading, of course, Shatner take with a whatever, but I remember reading in his book, Movie Memories, that it was all about like capturing that thing. Like they didn't, no one wanted, everyone wanted to look like what they looked like in 1968, and it's all about trying to look that, and then we're in 2, we're older now. I mean, that's the whole central point of that movie. Kirk's getting older, and so it is funny, because I think Star Trek 2's 1982. Don't quote me. Which again is only 3 years.
Yes,
but
82.
But it does seem like if you think about those characters, everyone looks much older. Like Spock looks much older. Kirk looks much older. Like it is funny how they're like, all right, guys, when you come to this movie, just whatever, be yourself. It's fine.
Just wear your sweatpants.
Yeah.
To the bridge.
All right. Well, let's get into some final thoughts, and let's just ask it, Darren. Is the Star Trek motion picture really that bad?
No, I don't think it's really that bad. I think it's still on the not as often watch, but I think there's still lots of really enjoyable things from it, and I always enjoy it when I watch it. I never when my co-hosts make me do that.
Now,
but
here's my follow-up question, which you're not ready for. Which is better, motion picture or 5?
Motion picture.
Okay.
5 is so bad.
Okay.
So
Because
bad.
we rehabilitated 5 a little bit last time we talked about it, but yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
Daniel, is the motion picture really that bad?
I think it deserves its reputation of being boring and drawn out. I think it deserves its reputation of not being one of the stronger Trek movies. Bad is relative because there are people that would love it. I don't love it, but there are definitely things you can appreciate in it. I will say that.
Which do you put at the bottom, 5 or TMP?
I think I'd rather watch the motion picture than 5. I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to be this is my personal experience, so your mileage may vary, your star logs may vary. I think if this is one that really you need to see in the cinema, I'm going to go ahead and pimp that out. I know it's hard because it only comes out once the anniversary. But I think we've said it's the most cinematic, and maybe that's obvious and redundant. But guess what? When it's the most cinematic, you should probably see it in a cinema. And so, so maybe I'll have to watch it. I don't think I've ever opened my motion picture DVD. So I may, this because I was one of the things like, oh, I'm never going to show this movie to my wife. She goes above and beyond, but I'm not going to subject her to this, but I would, if nothing else is in the queue, I would be like, we'll throw this in here, because she watches her phone anyway while we're watching TV. So, but anyway, just to be like, okay, this is the motion picture. You've seen it now. Check. You've seen them all. I think. I don't know if you've seen 3. Anyway, so yeah, so I was pleasantly surprised. And again, it's not out of the 6 TOS. I mean, you can go Kelvin, but just out of the 6 prime TOS, obviously it has a lot of competition. Yeah, I think I really got a lot out of it. Maybe I'll have to watch on the small screen and if I still feel the same with a small screen. But yeah, I'd say it's better than 5. I have to re-listen to our 5 episode to see what I thought about 5. But anyway, okay. Well, there we go. Well, Daniel, if folks want to talk about your reactivated commission and where you'll be doing now with your career, where can folks reach you on the internet?
People can find me on Twitter at @OneUpDan. That's the number 1, not the word, as in by far of all even one-off uniforms. This movie has by far the worst Star Trek uniforms, possibly the worst uniforms of all time in anything. Yes, the worst. Number 1, the worst. That's OneUpDan.
Though I also think there's actually a motion picture to TNG season 1. Like, you could see that evolution. Except we know Monster Maroon exists, but if we didn't know that, you could see where we go from motion picture to jumpsuit TNG.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
But it's kind of
That's true.
They were going retro, I guess, when they got to the 24th century. So Darren, if folks want to talk to you about wormhole effects and how you can get out of them, for whatever, where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DrSciFi.
All right. And remember, that's torpedoes, not phasers. And they can find me whenever you need your command taken away from you in an unceremonious manner. You can find me on Twitter at NCPublicServant. All right. Well, until next week, I'm Philip Gelfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here on City Alpha 3.